Today marks the 10th anniversary of the PlayStation Vita, one of the most underrated portables, let alone consoles, of all time. It launched on February 15th, 2012 in North America, which was just 2 months after Japan. I absolutely loved my Vita, and I can thank it for introducing me to new ways of gaming. It was revolutionary, and secretly, I think, why the Switch has been so successful. Now, there are 3 key genres that the handheld excelled in: RPGs, indies, and visual novels. Let's break this video up into those 3 categories for now, and then conclude with exclusives and kind of sum up why this thing failed. I should note, for the purposes of this video, I will be using captured footage from other consoles other than the Vita, along with some Vita footage too, because it just made things easier for me to blend. Cool? Okay. Then let's start with visual novels since it relates to one of my earliest professional reviews. Before I played Danganronpa, I had touched on Phoenix Wright, which was my only experience into the world of visual novels and adventure games. That seems perfect because both series share a lot in common. Both are about solving mysteries through investigations and trials. Danganronpa is just a lot more wild and unpredictable. After that, I also checked out Broken Age for review, which was my very first traditional point-and-click adventure game. It was a big deal at the time because it was one of the most successful Kickstarter campaigns ever. Without its success, the platform may have never taken off the way it did. Also, because Broken Age got high praise, old adventure games started to come back to kind of capitalize on this craze, like Grim Fandango. That game was much harder to solve, but I did enjoy my time with it on the Vita. Okay, now let's move on to indie games. They, along with smaller, downloadable games from bigger companies, started to creep in during the PS3 and Xbox 360 generations. That was just the beginning because in the next generation, the PS4 and Xbox One, they exploded. We are still in the golden age of indie games, some even surpassing AAA games in terms of quality. Since they were smaller titles with easy to pick up play designs, they were perfect for the handheld. Guacamelee was a great Metroidvania with a wrestling twist, one of the first to revive the genre in a big way. There was also Axiom Verge a little later. Funnily enough, that was for the PS4 and PC systems only in 2015. It wouldn't hit the Vita until the following year, but I played it on my Vita regardless via Remote Play, which let you stream virtually any game on your PS4 to your Vita. You basically mirrored the TV. I played a lot of Destiny like this, for example. It was more complicated to set up than simply docking the Switch or even hitting the button on the Wii U. I should note this feature was around for the PSP as well, but in a limited capacity. Anyway, back to the indies. So, the same way I played Axiom Verge, I played Mercenary Kings as well. That had a longer wait gap for the Vita version, 2014 compared to 2018, and by that time, I just got the Switch version, which is what you're seeing now. Those were, and are still great, but my favorite indie game on the Vita was Rogue Legacy. It was the first roguelike roguelite that hooked me enough to finish it. When the Switch version came out, I beat it again, and doing that once, let alone twice, is no joke. Speaking of not joking around, the Vita was home to some fine RPGs. This genre works so well on handhelds because you can multitask. I have to start with Persona 4 Golden, which was a port, but it made the PS2 original completely obsolete in almost every way. It was a turning point for the franchise, which got a lot more people on board for a lengthy RPG like this. Playing 80 plus hours on a console was daunting, but on a portable, well, it was easier to space out playtime. It was a match made in heaven. Final Fantasy X/10-2 HD Remastered was another great PS2 port. I just wanted to play Blitzball on the go, since I played it on the PS2. It is generally my favorite Final Fantasy minigame of all time. Vanillaware was perhaps one of the most prolific developers on the Vita. They remade Odin Sphere, another great PS2 RPG, and Muramasa the Demon Blade, which was a Wii game. The art style looked great on a TV, but even better on that OLED screen. I got a review copy for Odin Sphere just before I took a vacation driving from Minnesota to Oregon. It was a fantastic experience, and the best way I could think of to play that game. But Vanillaware also made a new title, Dragon's Crown, which could be played between the PS3 and Vita versions. That's how I played it a lot with friends. That game was amazing in co-op, and I'm glad it eventually made it to the PS4 as well. Then there are the first-party games, many of which are not compatible with the PlayStation TV, which was the home successor to the Vita. Funnily enough, it launched on my birthday, October 14th, in 2014 for North America. That's how I was able to capture a majority of these Vita games, besides relying on the ports. Unfortunately, it's trickier to get footage of titles like Uncharted Golden Abyss, Little Big Planet Vita, and Unit 13. All great games, but again, you can't play it on the TV. Some of the best did get remasters on PS4 though, like Tearaway and Gravity Rush. Now, some bad exclusives, first party or otherwise, that can't be played on the TV include Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, Resistance Burning Skies, and Silent Hill Book of Memories. Those are pretty much all stinkers. So, on that note, why did the Vita fail in the eyes of many? Well, I think there are two major things. One, the memory cards were proprietary and were expensive. Small too, meaning you either had to buy a big one and take out a second mortgage, or you had to buy an army of tiny ones. Two, along with the card cost, the Vita was just too expensive compared to the 3DS. Yes, the 3DS made that mistake as well, but Nintendo corrected it with a major price drop in the same year. Sony barely did this for the Vita. It was still incredibly expensive at the end of its life. The PlayStation TV was a cheaper solution, and for people in the press and content creators, this was a great capture tool that came along late in life. However, for the ordinary gamer, it was a weird product. Most games on the Vita were on other consoles. The exclusives that were worth something couldn't even be played on the TV, so again, what was the point? Removing the portability just was a bad idea, but I also see what they were going for. It just didn't work out the way they had hoped, and that's true overall for the Vita handheld. Its greatest legacies are the indie games, various ports, collections, and remasters. There's nothing on it that truly remains lost to time, or real exclusives, a few hidden gems here and there, but that's about it. Still, it was an important step in gaming, and I will remember it fondly on this, its 10th anniversary. Did you like that video? If you did, please like, subscribe, and spread the good word of ReActionExaminer. If you want to read more of my stuff, you can find a plethora of my articles over at The Gamer and Game Rant. All of those links and more are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching!